I don't remember a time when hunting didn't play the major role in my life. So my father took me out when I was 3 the first time to hunt roebucks. And although he didn't shoot anything on purpose to not scare me, I was hooked from the very first second, and it has never changed. My name is Franz-Albrecht Oettingen-Spielberg, and come and join me for the management and hunt of my favorite 5 game species. Spain for me was love at first sight, and I've been lucky enough to have hunted here in Spain for the last 20 years, visiting friends and making new friends. And I find it difficult to find another country that combines small game hunting and big game hunting in the way that Spain does it. I love the food, I love the wine, I love the weather. For me, the roe deer genetics here in Spain is out of this world, and I'm still trying to find the reasons why they are as good as they are. And I would say Spain, if there was only one country that I could hunt for the rest of my life, it would probably be Spain. So we're just gonna do the usual, which is take a practice shot and see whether the rifle is perfectly zeroed. I'm gonna shoot at 200. Let's see how that goes. Una línea. Our strategy was to find the highest point and to try and look over as much of an area as possible to try and spot the different animals that we were looking for, and then make a plan on how to get close, or hopefully wait until that particular buck comes in closer. Here you can see this white pot of earth shows how chalky the ground is here, and you can also see it on the fields, but especially also here in the bushy areas where the road has been made. And the chalky part of the ground is especially good for trophy growth in roe deer and also bone growth. And this is one of the keys why in many areas where you find big bucks, it's usually something to do with the ground. And also in England, where the best bucks are shot, it's all about chalky ground. And you can see here how incredibly white everything is. So the percentage of chalk in this ground is very high. We've now walked a few hundred meters alongside this ridge, and I'm expecting the buck somewhere on the other side of this hill. He has a relatively large territory, so he could be anywhere really. But I'm hoping now in April, because they're still defending their borders or territories towards other bucks, they should be moving quite a bit. Although it's very hot today, so I'm hoping the sun goes down relatively quickly and it cools down. As you can see, the shooting distances are very far. So even if we see him, the chances of getting a shot are quite slim. But we have a few days, and he's a great buck. He's 5 for sure, 6 probably years old. And we've known him since he was a 3-year-old. A 2-year-old actually, but the first picture we got of him was a 3-year-old. Of course, a thermal helps a lot in these conditions. Spain is very sunny, so it's less effective here when there's a lot of sun, because all the rocks and everything
become lit up. But it helps, especially in the mornings, because roe deer are so difficult to spot and the density is very low.
As you can see, this type of terrain is highly interesting when it comes to shooting positions. You really need to be able to shoot standing, for which we've got our four-legged stick. But it might also be better to lie down and use a bipod. So I try and prepare the bipod and the gun before anything arrives, in terms of if we see anything. And if I need to change, I can easily remove the bipod and then use the sticks. But I mean, this buck could appear at 20 meters, or it could appear at 250. And you never know how much time you have to make the shot. So it's best to be prepared. And also, very important, I find very important in this type of terrain, is to have the level right. Because if you don't have this, and you're shooting at the other side of the hill, you might think your rifle is leveled. But with this incredibly hilly and difficult terrain, you're probably mistaken. And I've had many, many situations where I think I'm centered, and then I look at my little bubble and it's way to the left or way to the right. It's now got much more chilly. The sun's gone down. You can see that the wild boar and the red deer are moving, and we've seen one doe on the field where we expect our buck to come out. So I'm hoping within the next 20-30 minutes there's going to be even more movement, but the density of roe deer in this area is very low and their territories are very big, so it could be anywhere from here all the way up. It's getting quite dark now, and windy and very chilly. We've seen everything from red deer to a fox, a doe, wild boar, but none of the 3 bucks that we know in this area, of which only one is a shooter, have turned up. So we're gonna slowly head back, come back in the morning, and hopefully have a little bit more luck. He must be here. We know he's here, but it's very difficult to find him in this type of terrain.
Hunting it's so much more than just going out to hunt something. For me, the management of the land, to live through the different seasons every year, to see the different plants grow, to see agriculture, to see forestry, to see roe deer cast their antlers, regrow them in velvet, to see how they change from year to year depending on how their condition is, that makes me want to be part of that year every year. And I have an incredible sensation of happiness being able to follow that consecutively from year to year.
So far, the only thing that's moving are woodpeckers. There's really very little movement of game. The sun is just about to come up on the horizon behind us. It's not super cold, but it's not warm either. No wind, perfect condition. So I think we'll just have to wait here for probably around 2 hours and see whether the roe deer will come into movement with the sun once the sun is up. But I'm still quite confident that we'll see him. sun is coming up now, and we can see on the other side of the hill, where the sun is touching the hill, there's movement of game beginning to happen. There's a female, a doe, that we just saw. She came up, and she was up maybe for 2-3 minutes and lay down again. But all in all, it's been a relatively quiet morning. And I'm trying to figure out the strategy for the rest of the morning, but I think we're going to have to start moving further up into the valley and hopefully see him somewhere on the other side. But it's not easy. They have so much cover. So we're going to start stalking up the valley and hopefully either bump into the buck that we're looking for. But if not, I know 2 or 3 other bucks further up the valley that are shooters as well. 2 of them are more sort of management selection bucks. And then there's one more. He has a drop tine coming down on the side of one of his eye. So if we bump into any of those, that would be good as well. But I think it's time to make a move.
For me, I don't have a specific species or a specific way to hunt that I prefer. For me, it's completely down to what part of the year we're in. So in the summer, of course, it's the roebuck in the rut. And then later on in September, when the leaves start to change, it's red stags in the rut. Then it's the fallow deer in the rut. Then it's the mouflon. Then the wild boar shoots begin. Then some of the pheasant and partridge shooting. So it really depends on the time of the year and the seasons. I go with the seasons. And now, for example, in April or May, roe deer are on my mind. But in September, I would have forgotten about roe deer, and my mind will be only on red deer. So it really changes from season to season.
Quite a good view of the opposite side. Even though there's still a lot of cover, I'm hoping we're going to sit and wait maybe for 10 minutes. I'm hoping that something will move. And if we don't see anything here, we'll move over the next ridge. And there's another valley there where I'm expecting one of the management bucks to be. But it's still very little movement today.
There was a couple of years of really tough drought in 21, 22 and part of 23. Last year, 24 was great in terms of rain, and this year it's been heavy rains most of the first few months, which is great because the land needs rain. But of course, it's very difficult to access many areas because a lot of the roads are mud roads. And many hunting areas that I know have not been able to be accessed over the last few weeks. So it's very difficult to make any good judgments on how, for example, the roe deer are doing. Of course, Spain starts their roe deer hunting on the 1st of April. And in southern Spain, in Cadiz, it actually starts on the 1st of March, which is very early. But the incredible thing is the bucks are actually fully cleaned on they've lost all their velvet. And they also have great color in their horns. It's just down there, the timing is different in terms of when they cast their antlers and when they shed their velvet.
We haven't seen the wild boar again. We saw 3 roe deer up on the hillside guessing they've probably lied down, bedded down. So I think we're probably gonna call it quits for this morning and go out again in the afternoon. I've got to try and figure out which buck to try for, because I think the one that we've gone for this morning, the one down in the valley, we haven't seen any of these in a good situation either. So I think we might have to change our plans. But let's see. Okay, so we're gonna move up the hill. It's quite a steep climb. And then on the ridge, it's windy this afternoon, but I'm hoping when the sun sets, we'll have less wind. We're just gonna position ourselves up there and we'll be able to see a lot of terrain. And hopefully one of the 3 bucks that we're looking for in this particular area will show somewhere, and if he's not within distance, we will try and get closer. But obviously in this dry terrain it's not easy to stalk.
It's very difficult in this type of mountainous terrain to see and spot roe deer at this time of the year. The coloring of their hide blends in with the mountain in a way that it's almost impossible to spot them if they're not moving.
We've just spotted the 6-pointer that we're looking for is one of the 3 bucks, about 400 meters away on the other hillside. So we're gonna try and make a stalk through this valley and hopefully get to the ridge in front of us to try and peek over and see whether we can take a shot. We're losing light rapidly. The wind is in our favor, so we're just gonna have to risk it. Just where they were lying down, while we were doing our stalk, a wild boar came over the hill and bumped them into the next valley. So we're gonna try and see if we can find them in the next valley. Can't find them. I think they've either disappeared downwards or upwards. It's just unlucky that that boar came by just in the second when we were approaching them.
Very fulfilling day, although we didn't actually get a chance for a shot. But I think we're slowly moving towards the right strategy. And I think tomorrow morning we'll come to exactly the same spot as we were tonight. And we'll run into one of the 3, I'm quite sure. It's just a game of patience, but the terrain makes it difficult and the reward can be a very good buck. And there's no genetics like there is in Spain, and it's just a pleasure to be able to hunt here.
Early in the morning, we're about to climb this little hill ahead of us. We've probably got about 20 minutes of a climb, and we'll be back on the spot where we can see those 2 big valleys. And hopefully one of the 3 bucks that we're looking for is going to show. It's a little bit more clouded and a little colder than usual. So hopefully that's a good sign.
For me, the most important thing is that the game population is healthy. And by healthy, I mean there's not too much density and not too low density, that the age structure is right, and the proportion between female and male in each species is proportionally correct. For the age structure, I think it's important to have old females and males. They have more experience, so the older females manage to bring their fawns better through the summer, and the males, they have their territories, and they make sure that the younger males are not part of the rut. And the younger males, before they've become fully mature, should not be taking part in the rut, because by the end of the rut they lose so much weight that stands their growth. So I try and balance that out at the same time with making sure the density doesn't get too high to conflict with the agriculture and the forestry. And that's a very enjoyable task, but it also is a big responsibility.
There's a doe and a fawn below us, and there are 2 of the ones that we saw yesterday evening. So I'm hoping the buck and the doe are somewhere around here as well.
Tried hard. It's now probably around 1:30, 2 o'clock. We're going to give up for the morning. And tonight's our last outing. And I think we'll go back to the place where we were this morning, because we saw 2 bucks that we can shoot even. And I think those are our best chances. But it's not been easy. But we're not going to give up. So we're down to the wire.
So, our very last outing. We have a bad weather front coming in tonight, and it's gonna rain all day tomorrow. So, this is our last chance. We're going back to the same place. We have our 3 bucks that we can hunt here. Hopefully we'll see one of them. I haven't given up hope yet. So I'm hoping maybe he's somewhere around there, also bedded down. das Fernglas bitte. After a very long stalk, we saw the buck early in the afternoon. But he was, as you saw, always in cover and always long distance. And he was with the dog. As they were moving away, gave me a nearly broadside shot. It was a long shot, but I was feeling comfortable. We had a bit of wind. But it was coming from the front, so even at that distance, I don't think it made a big difference. And I think he's down. I can see the female just moving along the other side of the ridge by herself. And I just want to make sure, because from here we have the overview. And I just want to make sure he's not moving. That was one of the 3 bucks we've been looking for nearly 3 days now. We saw him this morning once, and this was the second time. It was important because we were shooting downhill and it was a long shot to measure the distance and to know the real distance and the angle distance. And because when you're shooting it at angles downwards or upwards, you have a real distance, meaning what the actual distance is from you to the target. But how to put your turret depends on the angle that you're shooting. So here we shot at 300 and something, but the angle distance was only 319. So it's important to know both to be able to judge what the right clicks are to put on your turret. I don't usually like to shoot this far, especially not on a roe deer, but there was really no other chance for us to get another shot, and I felt very comfortable with the rest, and we had enough time for me to get comfortable because he was in front of us all the time. So I was 99% sure I could make the shot. But usually, obviously, I try to get as close as possible. In this case, it wasn't possible. Okay, let's go down to the Polaris and take a round, and then let's have a look with Macy whether we can find him.
What's really great, especially for these Spanish roads when they're wet, but also in this mountainous terrain, to get around with this type of vehicle is, I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it without it. There's no way to access everywhere where we're going with a normal car.
bite, absolutely fantastic. Old Spanish mountain roebuck. So, ja. As you can see, he's got very nice bases, but in the tops he's thin and he doesn't have very long tines. And he's been like this for the last 2 or 3 years. We tried to shoot him last year and we never managed to get close to him. And for most other countries in Europe, a management buck or a selective buck would be smaller than this. But for Spanish standards, this is a selective buck because Spain has, in my eyes, the best roe deer genetics in the world. I'm very happy we finally managed to take him. And it was a very long stalk. Super exciting 3 days. We walked a lot of miles. And as you can see, hunting Spanish roebucks in the mountains is certainly not an easy task. But it's a great challenge and I couldn't be more happy to be able to do it. So we're gonna give him his last bite.
We tried very hard to find a few different bucks. There was El Bajito, we call him. He was a low-antlered 6-pointer that we nearly managed to shoot a couple of times. Once he was spooked by a boar, and once we didn't manage to get close enough. Then there's the high 6-pointer with relatively good purling, who we never actually saw, even though we know exactly where he is, but there's so much cover and we spent I don't know how many hours trying to figure out where he is, but we never managed to get close. And then the one that we shot was one of the ones that we had on our list for this year, generally because his body weight is slightly less than what we would like it to be, and also he's an old buck, and at the same time he is below average in terms of trophy size. The management side on Spanish land has increased and professionalized incredibly over the last 20 years, and there's much that we can learn from Spain in many ways compared to what happened in some of the other European countries.